Hello.
Hello, how are you?
All right. Yeah, KubeCon talk last week went really well. So.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
You know, is it recorded? Can you share a link? Maybe you could put it in the doc.
Yeah, I don't have a link yet. Do they like will they email that to me or?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because
I think if I recall from I don't know a month ago, there was another talk you were interested in going to. It's like something to do with scale.
wait, that sounds familiar. I can't remember.
So, yeah, well, obviously I can't remember. I was just curious if you had gone and I remember you saying you were hoping you maybe could speak to the presenters and find out if they were aware of X.
Oh yeah, So I sent them an email. They never got back to me, and then I actually ended up not going to the talk. It was just it was too late on Friday.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I went to a lot of other really good talks. So
fun. I'm glad you got to go. Where are you based?
Austin, but right now I'm in San Francisco.
Okay. It's nice to see conferences returning, in-person conferences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the same when it's just like a bunch of basically non-interactive lectures.
Yeah.
Max is here.
Hey, Will, how's it going?
Good.
How's everyone doing?
Hey, Max. Well.
Hello.
Hey, Puno.
Hello.
Hey, Sardesh.
Looking at this new CVE in the meeting notes. Huh.
Yeah, I did ping them on Slack, and it is fixed in 040. And I would just make a pull request, but I don't know. That'd just be a blind, bump without looking at any implications. So I decided I shouldn't just do that. Leave it to one of you maintainers.
Yeah, it's worth bumping for sure. I don't know what else OPA has done as part of this minor release. Like, I'm assuming unless they're breaking backwards compatibility or adding some really weird function.
Yeah, it was sort of I just got the CV in my inbox this morning. And I looked at the release notes for 040 just briefly for exactly that, breaking changes. Nothing jumped out at me, but again, I think I'll leave it in one of your capable hands unless you disagree.
Gotcha. Yeah. My first instinct is just upgrade. Fortunately for us, I think this is mitigated somewhat because it requires control over the language or the OPA language that gets run before this vulnerability gets invoked. And the writing of constraint templates is at least relatively sensitive. At least that's how I'm interpreting the CVE, that you need to inject particular rego to hit this vulnerability. Is that right?
Oh, the pull request has an example. I'll post it in the meeting thing. Wait. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so it seems like it's relatively easy to accidentally cause. So it's like if you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would be relatively easy to just foot gun yourself into this case.
And what's the impact? It's basically it crashes with a memory error.
Yeah. So invalid out of range memory access. I'm confused how it says it causes a DOS because of that, but like I thought that Go would just like crash if that's the case.
Well, so taking the server down would be a denial of service.
Oh wait,
right?
sorry, I was thinking of DDoS. Sorry, yes, you're correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it could be intentional or unintentional DOS. Yeah. But the problem is it would pass compilation and get into the template itself, and then yeah, so then it would crash and then keep on trying to apply all the templates.
Yeah. So if you wrote erroneous or malicious Rego, it's possible to just crash loop the API server or the gatekeeper server, the webhook server.
So yeah, I think we've covered my agenda item. It'd be great to get, again, my philosophy, again, right, I'm supporting this through Red Hat, is that I'd love to see it backported to 3.8, right? Because 3.9 is not out. And then selfishly, I have not released the Red Hat version of Gatekeeper using 3.8, but that's my intention in the next month and a half or so. So that's sort of my selfish view. You know, if we can do the N-1, that'll keep me on the Red Hat green dashboard.
Yeah, like honestly, this will take me like several minutes to do, so I'm very happy to take it.
I'm not sure about backporting though, because since it bumps the version of OPA, it's not a bug fix, even though it contains a bug fix.
I mean, maybe. Do we know, Peter, what's changed between 39 and 40 for OPA?
Like in regards to something specific, or like the new features that are out?
All inclusive, right? Like I think particularly language changes would be the most salient, since I think Gatekeeper would obscure other than like performance improvements.
Well, there is another option here, 0.38.1. Like we push back to OPA and say, you need a Z stream, so that we don't have to bump the 0.39. Sorry, 40, whatever the numbers are. You know what I mean? Like OPA could do a Z stream to fix this CVE. Or we make that pull request there. Cherry pick.
I mean, because it won't.
Good.
Oh, I mean, because like the change should literally just be bump the number in the go.mod files and update the vendor directories.
Yeah, code-wise, it's not a lot of lines. I think depending on the changes, like I'm not like completely against Surtesh's observation that, like, for instance, if this added a backwards incompatible language change, which I don't think it does, then we would very much want to like carefully consider where we put it in. I think we've done OPA upgrades across patch releases before. Not that, you know, if it's a mistake, then that doesn't make it not a mistake now. But yeah, I'm curious, Surtesh, is your concern with the patch release stuff? Yeah, I'm a little bit off on what you're getting at here. So the minor release should still be like backwards compatible for sure.
Right, but it should introduce new features in here. So say, I don't know, if OPA 0.40 broke something or changed some behavior, then it would be, if somebody were using 3.8.1, and then they upgraded to 3.8.2, then they would be surprised, like, hey, why is this behavior happening?
Yeah, so is your concern then like specifically the language features, or is it
Any new changes, or I would say like that can impact behavior. Yeah, could be language features. I guess that's the only thing we would care about here, right?
Yeah, because they added some features and relaxed some of the like some of the requirements they had on like how things were specified, but they didn't increase the they didn't add any new constraints. They only added features and relaxed existing constraints.
Yeah, so I mean, and just, you know, talking out loud here, why don't I go back to the OPA channel, and I could even do the pull request with the cherry pick, but, you know, we do ask them to do a 039.1 with that. If they looking on Slack and my threads on their help channel, I think, you know, they don't seem to be really backporting things. You know, they're working off main and, you know, just releasing. So
it looks like there was a 0.38.1 in the past.
oh, good. So
they
39.1 is not out of the question then.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, I think that'll be much more straightforward on our side.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So So I'll do that. I'll raise the issue in the OPA, and if they decline, then I'll open an issue in Gatekeeper.
Yeah, and their fix for that CVE is only 24 lines of code, and it's relatively like it's not complicated at all. So it would be very easy for us to send that pull request if we wanted to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, did you want to do that, or you want me to do it?
I mean, will it take you longer than 15 minutes?
No.
Okay. Feel free to do it then. Yeah, you do it then.
All right. Okay, good.
Cool. That was, I think, the meeting item. What I heard there is we're going to propose a patch release to OPA. Assuming that goes through, we'll patch ourselves. How to release. Yep. Okay. Right. So that was the one agenda item. Does anyone have anything they want to bring up? Will, any interesting questions that you got from KubeCon?
Really, it was just like people that were very interested in how we got the speed up, and then the only other question was like how often should we be updating the version of Gatekeeper that we rely on? And I mean, I said like I said I did not remember exactly how many versions back we technically support, but I said don't let it go more than like 6 months. So 2 of the patch versions. Is that correct?
Well, definitely, you know, don't let it go older than 6 months is a good guideline. We do have a supportability blurb. Let me get that.
Yeah, I think we said n-2, and then we do release every 2 months.
Yeah, that sounds right. So we have the.
I will say that anecdotally, I can't say the customer names, but there was one customer on 3.1.
Oh.
And they had their own fork changes, and I tried to encourage them to contribute those back upstream, but I never heard further. So yeah, there are some old versions out there. Well, including I think the Red Hat version that we have out there now is 3.4. My memory may be off, but yeah, I'm trying to correct that. So
Yeah, I think the risk as you go further and further back in old versions, well, there's a couple of like main risks. One, it gets less likely that there's an easy upgrade path, right? You can always increment yourself through the versions, but you know, you're compressing a year's worth of pain or whatever into, you know, however long it takes you to do that. And more seriously, you know, as K8s evolves, right? One PR I think that was interesting that Rita highlighted in chat was the one that modifies the validating webhook configuration to watch specific sub-resources. Particularly in this case, it was with regard to ephemeral containers. Right, so watching the library repo is all well and good for keeping track of if there's anything people have found that, you know, would grow stale with newer versions of K8s, but it doesn't necessarily always get the whole picture. And of course, you know, as OPA adds language features, you know, we had some of the library ones, you know, I don't know if avoided is the right word versus just haven't, but like object.get, for instance, that's an old built-in now. But if you were on 3.0, that built-in didn't exist at that time, right? So you might find yourself being unable to keep your templates up to date if you didn't keep up. And then just missing out on performance improvements and reliability improvements, visibility improvements. You know, those are less risky and more just you might want those. What's painful? Sorry, I just saw Tom the chat.
catching up with the changes in Gatekeeper feature work. So
yeah. Oh, good.
kind of on that note, you know, so Red Hat has an operator, a Kubernetes OpenShift operator, written in Go, and it kind of obfuscates. I'm going to call it obfuscates the Gatekeeper knobs, right? So it has, you know, one configuration option that may tweak several things under the hood for Gatekeeper, and I'm in the process of trying to move away from that to a Helm operator, because that's what the community uses, right? So that's the Helm charts live in your repo. This operator could just consume the Helm charts, and then it would live happily on OpenShift. So that would ease my pain.
Yeah,
so I'll give a demo of that at some point.
Yeah, that'd be cool, and that way you could sort of rest on the customizability that the open source.
Well, that would let me, because it's just me on the Red Hat side, it would let me stop working on the operator, which the community is not interested in, and start contributing to Gatekeeper, which is the community I thought I was joining. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely interested to see that. Also curious about, because I don't think Helm is like full stop, right? Like CRTs comes to mind. And also operator has this sort of insistent reconciliation kind of implication to it. Whereas I think Helm is more imperative. So I wonder,
right.
how that functional gap is bridged, if it's just sort of redefining what the operator does, or if it tries to sort of define that state for itself.
But I'll put a demo on the schedule in a month or so and give a little show and tell.
Cool. Did anyone have any topics? I sort of just started talking. I was asking Will about interesting questions.
Wait, say that again, Max.
I was asking you about, you know, any interesting questions you had gotten at KubeCon.
Oh yeah, no, it was mainly how did you make it faster, and then the other one was what's the like cadence of updates, and then uh, but like with what Thomas has been saying, it makes me wonder is there stuff that we're actively doing as gatekeeper that make it more difficult to like keep the operator that they've made up to date? Because as you said
Sorry,
that like home,
go ahead.
oh, because you said that home charts would be, or like improving your home charts would be like a good way to do that. Is that like the, or yeah, I guess I don't fully understand it.
So what I mean by that is that if I look at the pull request going into the gatekeeper repo, right? There's the gatekeeper functionality, but then there's what's the recent one where it's the resources, you know, where it's star, and then, you know, well, that didn't quite work. Oh, well, you can work around that by, you know, this change in Helm, right? Or add this to your Helm chart. That's not a available workaround in the Golang operator that was written outside the community. You see what I mean? So like things like that, I can't take advantage of. I can't offer that to Red Hat customers as things to take advantage of. And then if we look at the upgrade, you know, between 2 or 3 releases of Gatekeeper, you know, mutations are now on by default, and the flag name changed. Like, that sounds kind of trivial, but all the operator tests and all this other sort of nonsense, you know, on that side, that would just go away, right? If I was simply wrapping the Helm charts, because to me, the Helm charts are the community. That's what, you know, you're either going to deploy it yourself directly, or you're going to use the Helm charts, right? So that's where I'm coming from. I'm not saying the Helm charts are bad. I'm not, you know, I'm saying it's in everyone's best interest that we all work in the same space. And that's what I'm hoping to go towards.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because if we just change a flag name or like make something that was default off to default on, then that just breaks all of your end-to-end tests, I assume.
Right. Yeah.
And then now it's super annoying for you to go and find every single instance where you made that assumption.
Yeah, and you know, and I'm a resource, and you know, I'd rather be a resource collaborating with the community than just trying to, you know, shoehorn something down the Red Hat product pipeline.
I did have one design doc I wanted to share. It's more a high-level call to action thing, and it's 10 pages, so I'm not expecting like conversation today, though I'm open to it. Basically, I was taking a look at sort of the constraint framework, right, and where it's used, and also the state of policy in cloud environments generally, right? Like, if you think about how clouds are actuated and how clouds have their own proprietary policy enforcement mechanisms, Terraform gets in there as a layer of abstraction. Using and constraint framework has kind of been put into those use cases, and also sort of this weird kind of state that clouds are in, where they kind of like have things that rhyme with each other and have many of the same knobs, but are in fact a little bit different, right? And AWS S3 buckets versus blob store is the example I bring up there. Basically thinking about, uh, I think the constraint framework rests on a nice sort of primitive between the actuation environment, whether that's Terraform or the cloud, and the policy language environment, which is basically what resources look like and the how they're consumed. That might make it easier to streamline things. And so yeah, this doc thinks about what we might want to do with the constraint framework. And it does push against, I think, OPA's vision of, basically Rego is a unifying language, because it basically doesn't want to take that step, right? It wants to meet people where they are, which would imply maybe splitting it out as a separate thing, unless that that project is softened, or is that stance as kind of softened as to like what relationship we want to have with policy. And so yeah, was curious on people's thoughts, levels of interest, that kind of thing.
I have one thought.
Yeah.
I would like to see docs like this and discussions like this happen in the Slack channel. Sorry, I come, I'm new to the gatekeeper space, but, been at Red Hat for 10 years in a very vibrant other projects. And I'd love to see the Slack channel be more robust or active. So that'd be my only request. I haven't read the doc yet, obviously.
Got it. Yeah, and this is, by the way, the first time I'm sharing it widely. Gotcha. Yeah, but I could put it in the Slack channel for sure.
Or, I mean, I know there's a slight tangent, but we pick the place where we want to discuss things like this, whether it's the GitHub discussions, or through issues, or whatever. That's fine too. I'm not pushing people towards Slack necessarily, but towards making it known where we discuss things.
Yeah. GitHub discussion seems good. On the doc directly, depending on, I think, the degree of comment, right? Like if it's fundamental about the doc or something, maybe it doesn't make sense there. But if it's like a clarifying question, or something like that, like historically what we've done is people could just comment on the doc, but that doesn't necessarily solve the discoverability problem, or I would say the premise problem, right? If you have competing docs touching on the same idea, kind of like what we had with mutation. All right. Well, I will leave that to marinate. I just wanted to put that out there while people were around to put it out too. I could put it on Slack, and maybe we can follow up next week after people have had a chance to sort of read and think about it.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Cool. Any other topics that we wanted to get on? Crickets? All right, do we want the time back? Oh, I see mouth movement, but people are muted.
So I see some names I don't recognize in the chat. One person left already. Is there anyone that wants to do self-introductions?
Hey, I'm Kermit Alexander. I'm mostly with SIG API machinery folks, working with Sal. But it looks like some Sal things may happen with Gatekeepers. So, I was going to be, here with the meetings for a little bit. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Oh, good. Kermit, you go by Kermit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't want to call you out directly, but yours was the only name I didn't recognize. So I'm Tom McKay. I work at Red Hat, primarily on an OpenShift operator to install Gatekeeper. And I've been doing this since September, so I'm a rookie.
Good deal. Nice to meet you, Tom.
And Kermit, is it fair to say you're working on the cell cap for Kubernetes, basically the CRD validation one, but also the sort of follow-up cap that is the embedded admission webhook?
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. The follow-up I'm not as involved in, but yeah, I would think it's safe to say that yeah, I'm involved with both.
Gotcha. Yeah. How is I don't think I've had a chance to ask this of anyone. How's the CRD field evaluation one going? It's released, right? Is it in people's hands?
CRT field evaluation. Yeah, I think if I'm understanding that right, that's all in 124. It's feature gated. Obviously, I think for 125, we're just going to be sort of plodding along with that. I think there's a couple of things that have to happen before that's a little more widespread. Like I'm doing E2E stuff for that for 125. So it's still early on, but you can sort of, I think, play with it now in 124 if you like.
Interesting. Cool. And have people been playing with it? Have you heard any feedback? Not to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. Has anyone been playing with it? Not to my knowledge, at least outside of, everyone who was already, sort of involved with developing it. Maybe Joe Betts might know a little bit more about people who have been playing with it than I would. But yeah, to answer the question directly, I'm not quite aware of anyone playing with it out in the wild just yet.
Cool. Yeah, I'd be interested to know once it starts getting available, how people react to who use it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Any other thoughts people have? Any new topics? Going once, going twice. I declare this, we're all just chatting.
Yeah. I guess in the not chatting, or in the just chatting section, like I just want to say, like, it seemed like people were really excited about Gatekeeper and there was a lot of enthusiasm. So like I think the KubeCon talk will do us good, and like probably drove my hope is that it drove interest in our in the project and makes people more confident in like stuff like the long-term stability and things like that with the performance improvements that we worked on.
Yeah, I will say, so I went to KubeCon Valencia and I went to KubeCon LA before that. And at the LA one, when we did the virtual talk, maybe like 20 people showed up for the virtual talk. But like at Valencia, right, they sold out the 250 person room, right? Maybe another 50 or 100 people tried to get in. So like it was very popular. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Do we have a sense of, is that the different region? Is that because it's no longer virtual? Is that a topic? Can we attribute that to? Do we Do we have any sort of?
I think it's a lot of things. In LA, I think there was about 3,500 people that showed up. Valencia was about 7,000 people. So we have overall more people attending, and then I think that just like just the word of Gatekeeper and OPA and just has grown. And so yeah. So I think there's just a variety of factors. I don't know if I can point it to any one, but yeah. So just overall buzz is going up.
Are you saying there is a community growth? Is that what you're saying?
there's definitely a little bit of community growth in there as well. Yes.
And yeah, so Will, did you so I know we covered the like questions thing, but yeah, did you get a sense beyond that of like, was there any part of the presentation that you felt especially landed with people?
Yeah, I don't have a good sense. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious. So external data was also mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I had about like a minute and a half or 2 minutes just about that.
Did we do a demo about external data?
No, I didn't do a demo. I just talked about it, and then potential use cases. So like integrating with LDAP, or making it so that only people with certain roles can modify certain fields of objects. Oh. Let's see, Rita asked questions. Oh, yeah. So Rita asked any use cases that people asked for. People didn't ask for ask about use cases for it.
Now with the external data, is that with the http.send that has the big warning on it that like you should not use this because it may not be called every time?
Yeah, it's the external data is like a much safer version of http.send. So essentially we do a bunch of things like you can only do GET requests. It requires that the thing that you're accessing basically be treated as a key value store. So it's like, so you can't just like send arbitrary thing, like you can't cause arbitrary changes to happen on the internet as long as whatever HTTP server you're talking to actually only fetches things when it encounters GET requests.
Gotcha. Okay.
And which services you could talk to, you need to create a resource on the K8s cluster that enables you to talk to something before you can talk to it. You're not engaging with like random host names.
And sorry, do you link to docs on this?
I think so. I think Surtesh or Rita would be the most able to know if there's a canonical thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's on our regular docs. I can paste. This is the docs. And Ernest is adding TLS support for this, and then MTLS is also going to be supported, but through best practices sort of docs. But by default, TLS will be supported.
Yeah, one of the cool things, I think, at least with regard to mutation, is that we're able to make these, even though generally mutation would need to be done in serial, with what we've done here, we can make the external data requests for mutation in parallel, which makes latency calling out to an external service much less worrisome, not none worrisome, because it's still, you have parallelism at the Kubernetes level, but to the extent that you're reaching out to multiple different external providers, it becomes the worst performing guides you rather than the sum of all latencies, or guides limits. Cool. I'm glad that Tom, you got exposure to external data. That's a cool feature. So I was just sort of assuming everyone had heard about it at this point. Sorry about that.
No. I mean, so again, my role is on to date. So unfortunately, has been on the we'll say the product pipeline of the operator. It's like my chances of using Gatekeeper and contributing there is, I'm hoping to see that ramp up, right? So I've seen this web page before, just didn't stick with me, and I didn't get a chance to use it. So it's gonna be a fun summer.
Yeah, let me know, or I guess you'll let us all know when you have an operator thing. That's interesting. So my web Slack, I was just thinking about Slack. I get tabs on this computer for like the different like Kubernetes versus OPA, but not in my other client. Anyway. Shall we call it? All right, it's good to see everyone.
Yeah, good to see everyone.
See ya.
See you later.